This episode of Bankless is brought to you by YEARN. YEARN is a yield farming money robot to do the yield farming in DeFi so you don't have to. YEARN has various products like Vaults or Earn, where in Vaults you can deposit your preferred DeFi token, and DeFi experts have written strategies for this token that you deposit to go and find yield automatically in DeFi. Earn is that same thing, but with stablecoins, where the Earn system will move your stablecoins around from protocol to seek yield from whatever DeFi protocol is offering the most amount of yield at that particular time. Check them out at yearn.finance. A fantastic tool to help you live a bankless life comes from MONOLITH. MONOLITH is a smart contract wallet on Ethereum, but it comes linked with a Visa crypto card that links right into the DAI in your smart contract wallet. So it's really spanning both worlds, using smart contract wallets on Ethereum and also a Visa card to purchase groceries or live your life. And so it's a great way to live a bankless life without having to, give up all the normal things that you would need to purchase to live that life. Check them out at monolith.xyz and get your Monolith Visa card sent to you today. ZAPPER is a tool I've been using to help me track my portfolio and all of my wallets across DeFi. You can plug in your addresses into the zapper.fi dashboard, and ZAPPER will give you a report as to all of the assets that you own and where you've placed them in DeFi. You can also invest right through the ZAPPER portal. So if you just don't want to go to all the different URLs for all of your favorite preferred DeFi protocols in order to stick your assets inside of them, you can just go to zapper.fi and click on where you want your assets to go. You can also add multiple wallets in case you use multiple wallets, and you can add them all into one seamless portfolio view by adding multiple wallets in ZAPPER. Check them out at zapper.fi. Unstoppable domains is where we get human readable blockchain domain names that are also completely censorship resistant. One of the really important features about unstoppable domains is that you can set up a website that has a domain that any nation state cannot take down. Really important for being a self-sovereign individual in this world. Additionally, what's also insanely cool about unstoppable domains is that Bitcoiners or any other blockchain can use unstoppable domains to make their Bitcoin address human readable, right? So no longer is this just technology built on Ethereum. Now unstoppable domains brings this to all other blockchains. So you can tell your Bitcoiner friend to send you money to davidhoffman.eth or yournamehere.crypto. Check them out at unstoppabledomains.com. All right, Bankless Nation, I am here with Martin Köppelmann. Martin is the brain behind a ton of different crypto projects on Ethereum, mainly with Gnosis, but also with DXDAO, you have your fingers in with a Dutch X exchange, you have your fingers in, and now also a new product called Circles UBI. Martin, can you kind of explain where Circles UBI got its roots? Like, where did the idea come from, and why do we need it?
Yeah, it's actually it's quite a longer story, but yeah, bottom line is obviously as many as others, I got involved into crypto was Bitcoin. And already back in 2012 or something like that, I felt like, yeah, Bitcoin is great, but to some extent, it's still not necessarily fair. Or you could find arguments why you would see starting a new currency could be done in a more fair way, so that more people would participate from the start. So the simple reality is, easily 10% or something like that of the supply got to, I don't know, very few people. I mean, at least from a global perspective, very few people. So basically back then, there was always almost the idea around, okay, let's do something like Bitcoin, but let's just do the distribution of tokens on a per person basis. And usually the problem that always occurs is kind of, how do you verify that? How do you check who is actually in person? And specifically, how do you do that without introducing a central authority? If you have a state and you say everyone who has a passport, okay, that's easy. But if you want to do it decentralized, it's a somewhat hard problem. And Circles or Circle always tried to address this problem, and it was basically as an idea. It was around, since a long time. I think more or less the system was described, and it's actually not too complicated, 5-6 years ago. And it was one of the reasons why I immediately got excited about Ethereum, because Ethereum, it was always clear that Ethereum would make it so much easier to implement such a thing. And yeah, I mean, the other I would say the one background is kind of just like Bitcoin, but more fair, or for fair money. But the other background is that I was always, or for a long time, I'm super interested in UBI, just like kind of completely regardless of cryptocurrency, just as a political kind of policy. I actually think it would be super useful if states would implement UBI for various reasons. We can discuss those as well. But Circles is also a way to say, okay, we want a UBI, but we can organize it ourselves. We don't need states for that. So you can also see Circles simply as a tool to enable people to give each other a UBI.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying, Circles is a decentralized identity solution, but it sounds like it is a decentralized identity solution as a means to support the Circles money or the Circles UBI asset, right? It sounds like the asset itself is the point of the project, and the decentralized identity aspect is kind of just a means to achieve that goal. Is that correct?
Exactly. So primarily it's a token, or it's something like a currency. You can discuss those terms and whether it's money or not, whatever. But that's the primary goal. And as you said, the identity system is just a way to get there.
Okay, fantastic. So Bitcoin itself is, what one of my friends always says is it's a very much a merit-based system, as in if you want to be a viable miner, you need to, fight tooth and nail for efficiency, right? And so it's always about like your abilities and your resources that you have available to you in order to become a Bitcoin miner. And the same thing with purchasing and owning Bitcoin, you have to pay for it, which means that people that have abilities and merit and financial resources can get more Bitcoins. And so it sounds like Circles is trying to do the exact opposite of that, which has, UBI values baked into it, where UBI is very much a non-merit based system. It is what's the right word? It's just like unconditional. It's unconditional. You just get the UBI. Why are you interested in making a currency that has those values baked into it?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is that this unconditional system should be the basis. So of course, I very much believe in merit-based, or could even call it capitalism or whatever you want. But those things, in my view, should be on top. So the idea is the UBI, and whether Circles, how quick Circles could achieve that or not, that's a separate question. But let's just talk about the UBI. The unconditional part enables you to then do that, basically to work and to create value. So you need to start somewhere, and Circles or UBI gives you this starting point, and from there you can hopefully create a ton of value and thrive and to build great stuff.
So when Circles got introduced, the Twitter world just kind of blew up with everyone trying to verify everyone else, and everyone was posting their profile. Hey, will you verify me? And then when people would get verified by sharing their profile with 3 other people who would say, I trust this person, a system of vouching, which is how identity works. People would get their account, quote unquote, verified, and then they would get a distribution of 50 Circles. And so, and then there's also an issuance policy for Circles moving forward. Can you kind of explain how Circles, the asset, how the money, how it comes to be, and the issuance and monetary policy moving forward? Yeah,
exactly. So it's actually, it starts with an issuance rate of 8 Circles a day. So the 50 that you just get as a starting point will soonish not be very relevant. So yeah, it's kind of heavy inflation, and the 50 are really just meant to be yeah, so that if you kind of get started, you can immediately like just try it out. But long term, those won't be really relevant. And in addition to the eight units a day, there is in addition a 7% increase of those 8 units a day every year. So next year it won't be 8 units per day, but 8 plus 7% and so on. So it will increase every year by 7%. And basically the 7%, there are a few reasons to get there, but just high level, let's say the 8% would just be flat. Sorry, the 8 units would just be flat. Then over time, the already existing money would of course linearly grow, but the 8% per day would be fixed. So in the far future, the newly minted currency would be basically irrelevant because there's already so much. But if we increase the if we always increase the amount that will be newly minted, then at the end of the day, we will stabilize between the ratio of newly minted tokens compared to already existing tokens will stabilize, and it will actually roughly stabilize at those 7%. So in the far future, there will be a 7%, roughly a 7% increase per year, given a constant population.
Okay, so this monetary policy is similar to Bitcoin in the sense that it is planned and you can project it out concretely into the future, but it's dissimilar from Bitcoin in the sense that it's pretty inflationary, right? We're inflating the supply at 7% a year. And the purpose of that is to incentivize people to spend circles. Is that the goal?
Yeah, I mean, that's one aspect. And again, there is this fairness aspect. So if you, I mean, if you, one way to look at it, at a system like Bitcoin is, let's imagine you have an island of, and 100 people live there, and they kind of, or somehow 100 people come together on an island, and someone decides, okay, let's use a currency, or let's introduce a currency. And one guy has all the currency and says to everyone else, yeah, let's use this one. I mean, obviously the other 99% wouldn't be a big fan of that idea because, well, it feels unfair. Why is this currency? And I mean, like on a global perspective, that's kind of comparable with the Bitcoin situation. So probably less than 1% of the world population currently has Bitcoin. So this 1% basically tries to convince the other 99%, oh, let's use this currency. By the way, we already own 95, or I don't know exactly 90% of it, but just let's use it. And Circles would be a way to kind of makes this fair, and even fair in time and space. That's kind of because even if future generation, even for future generations, it would be fair, because if you say, okay, there are those 100 people, everyone gets 1%, then kind of as soon as the next person comes, well, then basically that guy is screwed, because all the other 100, or kind of a new person is born, let's say the next day, this person is screwed, or kind of you could argue it's unfair to this person, or that person at least would have an incentive to say, well, let's come up with a new system. Let's say a system where we, well, just take now or account for me as well. So in that sense, Circles tries to be fair forever. So always, even for upcoming generations.
Okay, so I always like comparing this to Bitcoin because there's a lot of overlap with the values of this project and Bitcoin, but this project just kind of spins it in a different way. A lot of Bitcoiners speak about Bitcoin and how incredibly fair it was from a distribution perspective, because no one particular person got to have privileged access to Bitcoin, say for maybe Satoshi Nakamoto, but we can eliminate him from the equation because he hasn't spent any of his coins, right? And so no one really was able to access Bitcoin earlier than anyone else. Anyone could have accessed Bitcoin at the same time. And therefore, Bitcoin is relatively fair in the sense that there's no privileged parties. And what Circles UBI is trying to do is trying to turn this on its head, but keep the fairness where it some people got earlier access to Bitcoin, even though it wasn't privileged access, they still got earlier access, and that gives them the supply of the currency. And Circles UBI seems to be ensuring that everyone perpetually gets fair access to the distribution, no matter what point of space or time that we are in, no matter what.
Yep.
Very cool. So how do circles actually become valuable? So are they trading? Like, I mean, I guess they just came out into the market, but what's the process for, we call it universal basic income, but it's not income unless these things actually have a secondary market value. So where does that come from?
Yeah. So one very, very important thing is to note is that circles are not fully fungible. So basically your circle and mine circle are different. For that reason, it will be also unlikely for the foreseeable future that it will trade, or circles as a general concept will not be tradable, because there is not this one circle coin. There are currently 12,000 different users or accounts that each have their individual circles. That's point number one. So how do they get value? One thing is that it can be very, very local. So it can just be a group of 5 people that decides with each other, okay, we trust each other, we are connected, and we are actually not even really connected to the outside world, but just within this group, we decide to grant each other basic income. You could always see it as an insurance policy, that we are saying, okay, if everyone's well off, we don't need it really, but if someone of us currently needs financial help, basically the other guys, because the other guys would then accept the money of that person, in a way the other 4 guys would then support this one guy. So that's one way how you can get value into the system. I also have to say, the situation we saw on Twitter was only one part. So the Circles app was actually designed specifically not for the crypto Twitter world, and not for existing crypto users. It was designed for basically a local group here in Berlin, and of course it should go to other groups, but in Berlin is where we started it, and on Friday, not visible for the Twitter crowd, because it was like an in-person event, or people might there be also on Twitter, but not really in the crypto Twitter sphere. There was an in-person event in Berlin, and in Berlin there are like probably currently 10-15 physical places where there's a community, where some vendors decided to all start selling their things for circles.
Maybe you're familiar with Andrew Yang and his kind of policies in the United States, in one of them, which is UBI, but he also talks about this parallel economy that he wants to spin up with social credits, I think is what he called, where he said, like, people and other economies have used this model in different ways, where there's the money that a society has, but then different like side economies have spun up this parallel currency, which is basically like tokenized favors, where like a mother of one household didn't have cash to pay for a birthday cake for her son, but instead she just did favors for that person, and then they use a different denomination that's separate from like the US dollar currency or the local currency of the economy, but instead uses this secondary credit system to compensate people for that. And so it's basically saying like, hey, this isn't money, but it is still a token of favor, right? Which you can then redeem, and I'll do favors for you. Is that the kind of gist?
Yeah. So one I want to quote one message that made us really happy from the Circles team. So someone wrote, "I'm a small landlord. Some of my rents are struggling to pay every month after COVID, so I'm going to offer them to pay partly with Circles, if they also accept Circles in their business, like a bazaar, vapor store, little coffee bar. This will create some momentum in a very, very poor neighborhood in Cadiz, Spain, one of the most unemployed cities in Europe." Yeah, so exactly, that's one way to, and then it's really important to understand that Circles should or will be a very local local thing.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying, where Bitcoin got bootstrapped by like its complete fairness in its distribution, as in like no one was privileged in accessing it. And it sounds like this landlord is also interested in bootstrapping Circles due to its fairness, right? And so people and individuals who have made their Circles wallet, gotten their first distribution of Circles, are interested in using Circles simply because it's a tool that is credibly neutral, which is something that we talk about on the Bankless podcast all the time. It seems like Circles are trying to maximize their credible neutrality and leverage the value that people see in credible neutrality, which is why it's got to be a quote unquote UBI, an unconditional distribution of money.
I think that's one aspect, but it also really is simply also a tool for people that want to support others, to support to do the support in a or within some structure. So basically this landlord, I mean, he could also decide to kind of just forgive the rent or something like that, but now they are getting Circles. Okay, I mean, worst case, those Circles won't be worth anything, but good case, they are now getting paid Circles, but at some point they can later do something, or kind of go to this coffee shop, or have a friend that then goes to the coffee shop and so on. Yeah.
So it sounds like Circles won't become valuable by trading on Binance or trading on Coinbase, but instead they'll be valuable because you can get someone in your local area to help you do something, which is kind of what money is, but in a different roundabout way.
Yeah. So, I mean, Circles, of course, also tries to has at least the potential to scale. So again, you can have this small group of really just local people that somehow expect that, okay, I'm doing something for you, and later then I have the Circles, and then I get something in return. Now Circles has this it's also trust connections, and they are transitive, so that means I don't need to be directly connected with the person I'm interacting. It is enough if I'm connected to someone who's connected to someone, and so on. And in theory, the system, we believe, has the potential to scale globally, but it's also very possible that it will remain, or there will be some areas that will remain fairly closed, I guess, and not a lot of money is flowing outside or inside, or is basically transacting across.
So I want to turn to how Circles was actually deployed on quote unquote the blockchain, right? So you guys didn't deploy on L1, you guys went straight for L2. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the simple reason is obviously transaction fees are high on Ethereum, which is a nice thing because it means a lot of people want to use it. But for Circles, it was way too high. So we literally expect or hope that people will pay their coffee and do their, I don't know, $2 or something like that transactions with Circles. And for that, Ethereum mainnet is not usable. So we went directly to XDAI, which is the system that has the highest compatibility to Ethereum. It's almost equivalent to, or like from a technological point of view, and still has very low transaction costs. Of course, because it compromises to some extent on decentralization. So it uses proof of authority. It just has, I don't know, 11 validators. But the good thing is Circles would still also be forkable. So if it would ever be a problem that this POA network, I don't know, kind of something weird would happen, it would get shut down, or it would I don't know, then it would fairly easily be possible to fork Circles.
Fantastic. Well, it's one thing that me and Ryan are really excited about are seeing projects deploy straight on L2s rather than starting on L1 and then moving to an L2. It's a pretty interesting growth and phenomenon in the Ethereum space. Martin, if people are interested in helping grow Circles and helping it succeed, what should they do?
Yeah, so we are currently trying to support that, but yeah, the main idea would be that people locally find together. So basically, there is already a list of 40 places where people have kind of signaled interest in Sao Paulo, in Spain, in China, surprising, or at least it wasn't so much on my radar, but so far it seems like a good fraction of the current first Circles users or people that are trying Circles are coming from China. So ideally at all those places there would be meetup groups, if Corona would allow it, physical meetups, and people that locally organize around this idea. Let's give each other a basic income and let's start this kind of alternative or parallel economy. So that's definitely one way. Another way is, of course, if you're a developer, there are plenty of things to do. We got completely overloaded by user demand. So we just had it's a 2-developer team, and it was, we were not really prepared for that interest. So there are a lot of things that can be developed. And then, of course, there needs to be a full cultural and norm discussion, or kind of like what is the social contract of Circles? I guess that's also big upcoming a thing that will form over time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing that maybe if people want to actually put this into practice is just, get your friends to download the app, get your family to download the app. And maybe if you guys need to trade favors, carry in the groceries costs 5 circles or something, and exactly. That kind of like spins out from there. Like it seems to be like Circles is trying to be a very bottom up movement rather than a top down movement. So it needs to be bootstrapped by stewards who use the system.
Yeah. So, I mean, just as an example, so in Berlin and soon hopefully in other places as well, we have those kind of just a Telegram group of a marketplace. A marketplace that's, like basically like Craigslist, where people post stuff, they maybe use stuff they want to sell, or things like that.
Cool. Fantastic. Martin, thank you for coming on the Meet the Nation to help us learn all about Circles UBI. If people want to learn more, where should they go?
Yeah. So far, our website, Join Circles. You need to check whether it's .com or .net, but you'll find it. Yeah, the Twitter account, forum, and hopefully many developing Telegram groups.
Fantastic. Awesome. We will get those things linked in the show notes. Martin, thanks for coming on the Meet the Nation.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.